Emmys versus Oscars is that your show can run for multiple years, so you can get multiple Emmys. The longer your show runs, obviously, the more chances you have. So these are the record holders for the Emmys. Frasier has the most funny comedy. The Simpsons has the most funny animated. Don Knotts and Candace Bergman got, for one single character, they each have 5. And CBS, one year, 1974, got 44 Emmys. Last year's big winners for the Emmys were Alec Baldwin for leading actor in a comedy for 30 Rock, Toni Collette, lead actress in a comedy for United States of Terror, and Glenn Close for actress for Damages, and Bryan Cranston got his for Being Bad, I believe. Skipping slides. Just over here. I'm sorry, it's not doing what it's supposed to. There were also, for the Emmys, 30 Rock and Mad Men took the main comedy and drama series awards. Right. Moving on to Tonys. Tonys are for musical theater or regular theater. It began in the spring of 1946, and it was held in Radio City Music Hall, and it's full of live performances, which makes it much more interesting than a lot of the other ones. It's also, because it's based on live performance, it's more performance-based, which is, they were the first show to actually give you samples of it, which is why now on the Oscars or the Grammys you see people actually performing what they're looking for. The process of the Tonys is very different than the process of the Oscars or the Emmys. The show needs to open within season, which typically needs to open by April. Nominations come out in May. This year they come out May 14th, and you need to have your show open by April, which is why a lot of the times you'll actually see a show that maybe isn't ready to open, but they're going to scramble and try to open so they can be Tony eligible, which sometimes ends up closing them, and then you can have a nomination for a show that ran less than a month, as long as you were open by April. Also, the big difference is it's a 24-member committee for the Tonys. That's very different than the Academies for the Emmys or the Oscars, which are thousands upon thousands of actors, writers, everyone. This is 24 members, and they decide it all. There's 10 by the American Wing, 10 by the Broadway League, and 1 each by the Dramatics Guild, the Actors Equality Association, and the choreographers and directors. Everyone can send one that makes up the last 14. The awards that you're given at the Tonys, the big ones are, there's the 3 categories again, the play, the musical, and the revival. There's awards for the acting, of course, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Leading Role. There's awards for the music, Best Original Score, Best Revival Score, Best Use of Original Music in a Revival. There's also for the dance, Best Choreography in a Play, Best Choreography in a Musical, Best Choreography in a Revival. We go on and on. There's also for the directing, Biggest Stage Picture, there's Best Stage Picture, there's Best Directing, like artistic directing, and then there's Best Directing of the overall. They also go for stage, Best Costuming, Best Set, Best Stage, I believe it's called Best Overall Effect or something to that degree. Winners of last year's Tonys, Best Play was The God of Carnage, Best Musical was Billy Elliot, the Best Revival was Hair, I think that's the most commonly known one, and the Best Play Revival was Norman's Conquest. And these are the Billy Elliot boys. There are 3 of them. Because of stage labor laws, they can't send someone under the age of 15 out 8 shows a week. So they all won. I'm just going to keep talking. The most performance-oriented one is the Tonys, as we know. Something else that's really interesting, I think, for the Tonys is you get to see movie stars transferring over to stage, and you don't really get to see them in a more live setting until you see them in the Tonys. Jeffrey Rush won Best Actor for The Exit of the King at this past year's Tonys. He's from Pirates of the Caribbean, Barbossa. You don't know who he is. And Angela Lansbury, or Mrs. Potts, won Best Featured Role for Blithe Spirit. Grammys is next. It's based on the musical charts, and it started November 29th, 1959. It was held in 2 locations until 1971. They had a Grammys going on in New York and a Grammys going on in LA, and wherever you were, that's where you accepted your Grammy. It used to be a small Sunday night show on NBC. Basically, it lasted a couple hours. Everybody would just do their little thing. You would accept your awards and you'd go. When it was bought by CBS in 1973, that is when it became the huge 5-hour drawn-on show. Basic awards for the Grammys. Nominations are submitted by the record companies, which is very different than the others. Normally you have to wait for your recognition. When it comes to the Grammys, your record company sends in what they feel people would nominate. It also follows the calendar year. Again, it doesn't follow the seasons. It's based on January to December 31st, and you can only submit 5 per category. So if you're a huge record label, you need to find your top 5 artists to submit for Best Artist of the Year, which is how sometimes you get an artist that you maybe wouldn't think would be nominated for, say, Best Female Artist or Best New Act, but maybe the acts that you think just happened to be number 6 and they weren't allowed to be submitted that year. Big awards last year for the Emmys, well, every year, are Album of the Year, Record of the Year, Male Performer, Female Performer, and Best New Artist. So. What is that?
Just so you know, you fine, but...
Okay. Sounds good. Best New Artist. And the leaders in record Emmys, or Grammys into the same as Emmys, are George Stolze, Quincy Jones, and Alison Krauss, who won Best Album last year. To conclude, the different shows all have different ways of nominating and deciding who will be selected to win their award. The main similarity between all of the awards is that it's the biggest honor in your field, and my question for you is, which award would you want yourself?